We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov. One of the best things about starting this radio station, outside of spending hours upon hours listening to musicals, is meeting and discovering new performers and performers new to me. I was contacted back in July about the charity release of Stars Les Mis Medley by Ida. I'll admit, I didn't know who they were at the time, but the song was fantastic, so I had to get to know them better. So it gives me a great pleasure to have a little chat with one of the members of Ida. I'd like to welcome to the show Wendy Carr. Wendy, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. It's a thrill to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I start every one of my interviews the same. Who is Wendy in 30 seconds? Your 30-second bio.
Okay, that's really hard. That's a mean thing to do. Okay, Wendy is Scottish, but normally lives in London. Trained classically, so in opera, but also sings loads of musical theatre and belts loads of stuff, everything. But also I play a lot of instruments and I sing a lot of traditional folk music. As well as that, I'm an avid fan of cooking and I know a lot about Scotch, about malt whiskey, because I worked at Glenfiddich for 6 years, and I speak a couple of other languages, but only about whiskey because that's the only experience I've had. Is that 30 seconds? Oh, my heart's beating so fast.
That's okay. I think we got to know who you were with the,
right, okay.
the whiskey, and you know what? Forget all the musical theater stuff. Let's just talk about your cooking. What do you like to cook?
Oh my, everything. Oh my goodness. So I turned vegetarian a couple of years ago. So it's actually meant that I kind of throw together a lot of things now. Whereas before I would have my standard dishes that I would want to cook, and they're usually like meat based and stuff. So it's been really nice to just think, oh, I want this, and then I just see what I've got and I just shove it together. So I kind of won't follow recipes and things like that. But my dad is such a huge fan of Indian and Chinese cooking. So I've grown up, always being a fan of that. So good spice mixes, that kind of thing. And so I try and put my hand to those kind of things, and it's it's all right, but it's not quite my dad's standard. So when he's making a batch of his curry, I'm like, yes, can you make me some? Don't put chicken in it. And it's really good, but it's meant that I've learned how to cook with spices and stuff like that, which obviously works for other cuisine as well. I'm one of these people that if I'm cooking something, then I'll make a big batch of it and then I'll freeze individual portions, just because I'm lazy. I don't want to be constantly going back to have to make something fresh. And as well, if I know that it's good, then great. The only thing is if it doesn't turn out very well, and then stuck with a huge batch of stuff, I was like, oh. But things that I like baking. I don't know. Would you have? Well, maybe the equivalent of the Great British Bake Off, the TV show.
It seems to be on TV all the time here. So yes.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, it's I love that show. There's a current series right now, which it's later this year because of COVID. But I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, so you can tell I'm enthusiastic. So I would kind of put my hand to a couple of things, but generally the simpler things. But my mum also she used to give classes in like cake decorating and stuff like that. So we've got so much cooking, like baking equipment. So while I'm in Scotland staying with my family and not in London, I'm just thinking I might as well make the most of it, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. And for those of you who have just tuned in, no, you are listening to a musical theater podcast. Not a cooking show. You are tuned into the right one, just to let everyone know. So let's take it back to the theater scene. Let's get back on the stage a bit. Did you always were you always into musical theater and music and theater as a kid growing up, or was that something you discovered a little bit later in life?
Growing up, definitely. Well, actually, when I was properly little, I just wanted to be a pop star. Just specifically Britney Spears. I just wanted to be her. I could do an impression of her. I don't know if you've got stars in their eyes over there, but I applied to be Britney on that. I didn't get on, so clearly it wasn't very good. We actually came across the recordings that I submitted. I think I was 11 or 12 at the time.
Oh,
We
yeah.
came across them a couple of months ago. That's what lockdown does. It just makes you discover things that you haven't seen in years. That was cool. But yeah, I reckon, yeah, when I was a teenager, when I moved up to the high school, I started discovering musical theatre, and I would get all these CDs, compilation CDs that the packs of 5 that you would get. And then, because I'm from a musical family, my dad's a pianist, so he would always accompany me on new songs that I wanted to learn and sing. And I was very lucky that they always supported that, and they bought me music books and things like that. And so I've got all of the the standard musical theatre catalogues, all that kind of thing. And I just loved it so much, and it came so naturally to me as well. I just belt. I don't even think about it. So it's just what I do. Oh, absolutely love it. Love it.
Nice. Did you project yourself to have a career in this, or was there something else that you were thinking about maybe getting into?
I always wanted to be, well, that would be great. I should just do both. Let's just do waitress and get it done over with. I always wanted to be a performer. I was always singing. I don't know, how people say, oh, I started singing when I was 6. I don't remember. It was just always. Because I'd always do the choirs and stuff. My dad was a music teacher, and he would take choirs and that kind of thing. So I always knew I wanted to be a performer. Because I'm from a small town in a very rural area, in the northeast of Scotland. The concept of studying musical theatre, I really didn't know much about it. And I was under the impression you had to be this phenomenal dancer to even get onto a course. And so I remember, I think I must have been 17 or 18, and I emailed someone at Mount View in London. And I was just kind of inquiring about it. I remember just not really knowing what I should say, and I kind of got a vague response back because I'd given a vague question. And I kind of the idea of having to be this incredible dancer to go to even just study it just didn't leave my mind. So I thought I couldn't do it. I was always a singer, always an actress, but I hadn't had dance lessons since ballet when I was like 7. And so I didn't actually go on to train in musical theatre in the end. I actually took a couple of years out after finishing school, and I worked and saved up, and I got singing lessons for classical singing. And because I'd always grown up around classical music, it just made sense. And at the time, in my head, which I know it's not the case now, I thought, oh, well, classical's the hardest, so I should do that then, Obviously, the naive don't realise. So I actually ended up going to do that. But it was never a question. I always wanted to be a performer. That was it. I mean, I kind of, even now, I think, I wonder what I would do if I weren't performing. And maybe something to do with whiskey or languages, or I just don't know. None of it says exciting. So
I don't know, have a couple of whiskeys. It could be pretty exciting.
Oh, well, yeah. You're not wrong.
So you figured out you want to be a performer. You went to school for singing?
Yes. So I went to a conservatoire called Leeds College of Music. So it was in Leeds, which is in the north of England. And it was just a 3-year course. And I studied classical music with, classical singing as my instrument. So of course I got experience in opera, stuff like that. And then I after graduating, I stayed around Leeds and I was teaching singing and I was touring in opera. But then there was something missing, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
It's just one part of, this huge spectrum of performing as a singer and
Yeah.
actress. So I was like, oh, I just don't know, what do I want to go and do? Like, how should I tackle this? So I decided to actually apply quite last minute for just a 1 year postgraduate, like vocational course in acting.
Mhm.
So that's what took me to London. So I moved down. I did a year's training in acting at Drama Studio London. So just a really small drama school, possibly the smallest one. I'm not sure. I don't know. It was well, I'm just thinking the building was small at the time, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm thinking that. Um, so I technically have never actually had official training in musical theatre. It's just, yeah, never happened. Just one of those things that just works out that way. So yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? Performing is performing, whether you get the training in
Oh
pure, like I went to Sheridan College here in Canada, and that's pure musical theater.
yeah. Okay.
Acting, singing, dancing. Trust me, if they had marked me on the dancing, I would not be in there either. Like,
Oh.
I don't know how they got in. They must have been looking at somebody else's feet when they were judging it. I don't know, but I got in and got through. So yeah, that having official training doesn't mean anything as long as you're a good performer and you can get across, right?
Yeah,
What you need.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we talked. You mentioned that the instrument of your voice, right? Vocally, do you find a difference between opera and musical theater? Like it when you're singing opera and musical theater, do you find a difference with the way your technique?
Yeah, definitely. I think because with the musical theatre, it was just such a natural thing for me growing up. I
Hmm.
don't think about it so much. Whereas with the classical, it's very much a process. And I think, I'm not necessarily ticking off a checklist thinking, okay, I need to sound
Hmm.
like this. I need to, but I'm just aware now that I have to, it's like an engagement, of going into opera,
Yeah,
whereas musical theatre, it's just so much more ingrained from such a young age.
yeah,
Definitely. I know that there's a big crossover, a lot of musical theatre singers sing opera amazingly well. And it's because it's legit, isn't it? When
yes.
it's kind of yeah. And so my friend, another member of my group, Ida, Sarah, is just an incredible teacher, and she teaches musical theatre at various
Hmm.
schools and universities, and like including Italia Conti in London. She's just
Yeah.
amazing, and so she's been teaching me and just trying to get me to understand. It's only one voice. You're not doing this voice, that that kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think it's what's it called? It's still teaching.
Mhm.
Joe is still, have you? Yeah. So that's what she's been trying to help me with, which has been so, so helpful. Um, so yeah, I think the more I try and take on board the things that she says, it'll be less different between them. But right now, I can definitely tell a difference. Yeah.
Nice. What was your first professional musical theater show that you got in?
Goodness me. Well, I've never actually done one of the like big shows
Oh.
I've never actually, yeah, it kind of, I think because I'd done the acting and then my first agent, it was very much acting based and they didn't
Mhm.
really have much in the way of musical theatre going on. Yet the jobs I was getting were very based on music.
Mhm.
So the jobs I've done have been the much, much smaller, the productions that people generally haven't heard of.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, so I guess it was technically musical theatre was after I actually graduated from opera, and it was this new musical called Ruby and the 13th Door. I don't know if
Nice.
it's ever gone on, and it was very much like the first production of it,
Yeah.
and it was workshopped and everything. And that was actually a performance. It was being performed in York, which is also in the north of England. Um, and my role was very much a top soprano kind of thing for that.
Yeah.
Um, in London, I don't know if it counts, but the kind of the first musical type job was actually a Gilbert and Sullivan operetta.
Nice.
Um,
Which one?
so it's called Princess Ida, and that's where Ida was formed.
Ah,
That's why we took the name Ida. Um,
nice.
so so yeah, so yeah, Princess Ida changed my life. it was the best experience, definitely. And it was, one of those things where, when you think, I've made the right decision coming here and doing this. Okay.
Yep.
That's
Nice. So you know what? Let's use that as a jumping off point, because I was trying to figure, how am I going to get to Ida? Well, there you go. You just made a natural, easy transition. Tell
wow.
us about the transition going from Princess Ida to, just being a part of Ida.
Well, so in the cast, it was a very small cast for the show. There were six. It was a young cast, so 6 males, 6 females, and we all just got on so well. We got on like a house on fire and became best friends very quickly. It was only a month run. It was not long, and yeah, so one of the girls, she was from Australia, and when she was over there, she used to have a group of kind of classical crossover, a female group of classical crossover, and she'd wanted to start something like that here. So she asked me, oh, well, who do you think would be good out of the girls from Ida? And it's quite hard to think of that, like, oh goodness, am I going to offend someone?
Yeah.
But we eventually, had the four of us, 4 out of the 6 of us formed the group, and it was quite a slow start. It was very much figuring out who we were wanting to be, I guess, and kind of music, and are we just wanting to be run of the mill, sing pop songs in an operatic way, which is done a lot, and it's done very well by many, many artists. But, we kind of wanted to not necessarily go down that route. We all started off wearing these, not matching, but these kind of knee-length, tight-fitted black dresses and red shoes. And so that was originally, the name was Red Shoes. I don't know why that. Why, what was going on there? I don't know. Yeah, so quite kind of corporate, odd. I don't know, but yeah, we eventually realised that wasn't the way to go, and being a bit more glam and that kind of thing. And yeah, of course, we decided that Ida would be the best name, and we wanted to push the boundaries on what's considered as classical crossover, because to us, crossover means it can cross over with anything. And obviously, if it's got a classical element, then it's classical crossover. It doesn't have to be all sung in a classical way, so that's why, unlike a lot of other artists, most other classical crossover artists, we really try and incorporate a lot of the more kind of gutsy, so like musical theatre or pop belting, that kind of thing. And just trying to incorporate that as much as we can in all the pieces. Obviously, if we are singing a song from an opera, then we'll do that in an operatic way as a group. So that's why, obviously, with our Les Mis medley, for example, it just worked so perfectly, because you do have the elements of the kind of more classical style that we're all trained in. We're all trained classically, but also that kind of belting musical theatre, just such emotive music that I and Sarah are so used to singing as well. So yeah, it started off quite slowly, and then very, very quickly it just kind of went like just right up. Our first gig, I think, when did we have it? I feel like our first gig as a fully formed group happened like 8 months after the show, and it was live on BBC One. And we really winged it because we found out that day that they wanted us to go and do it. We actually had a different gig to be our first gig. We had a different gig that evening, and we had to one of the girls found people to cover for that gig. It was just a carol singing gig. And then we were like, right, okay, we need to come up with these things, because they wanted very specific timings. And then we got there, and they'd said, okay, well, we'll do your hair and makeup. I'm like, great, wonderful. They'd allowed 15 minutes for one person to do all their hair and makeup. So we, thank goodness we'd come prepared. People call me Mary Poppins because I'm just always prepared. I've got everything with me just in case. I hate when things go wrong. So yeah, we were doing our own hair, like in the corridor, someone
Yeah.
kind of did a half job of makeup and we finished it off. And it was just, and as well, they decided that they wanted to change the timings. So one of the
Of
songs
course.
had to be shorter, just one verse, and the other song had to be two verses. We're thinking, do we know the second verse of this other song? Let's go through the words. So we tried frantically, and it ended up kind of running a bit late, but it was fine because they'd allowed kind of extra time for kind of the rehearsal. So, it was fine. And of course, the rehearsal, we just went in, did it, got out. So,
Yeah.
and then that happened. And then after that, we'd made a show reel, and Georgie, so another original member from the group, she sent it off to people. We got a cruise agent. We started doing cruises. We're doing corporate gigs, and we realized that we wanted to record music. So yeah, it really took off after that, and we just had to hit the ground running, basically. Oh,
Wow.
I feel like I've just been speaking at you for ages.
That's okay. Every time I've thought, okay, I'm going to ask this question, you just transitioned into it anyway, so I didn't need to say
Oh,
anything. So
well, great. It's like we're one mind.
exactly. So I was like, I'm just going to sit back and let you talk because you're going to go exactly where I'm going to go anyways. So.
Right.
So how was that moment, that first moment when you're doing the BBC Live? That's your
Mhm.
first gig. You're standing there and obviously outwardly you're performing, but as you know, backstage or in your mind, what's going through there?
Well, it's just one of those things, isn't it? But because it was so fast, and because we just basically got these songs off book that day,
Mhm.
because the gig we're
Yeah.
doing was going to be with copy, and we I think it was such a whirlwind that between the shots, because it was all live, like I say, we were behind a screen and we came out and we were there and then we were filming and then we had to go behind the screen again and be completely silent. And we were trying to think, right, what's the next song? Okay, what are the first words? Just making sure. And then the same, did it again and then again. So it went so quickly, we really didn't have time to think about anything. Then afterwards, I think someone at the BBC was leaving. I think it was their last day. So they were having drinks and stuff. And they said, oh, stay and have drinks. So, we were in that, the big office rooms with loads of TVs on the wall, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And, we kind of stayed and had a drink. But it was a little bit awkward because we just turned up. We'd kind of gone through, done loads of things really quickly. And then suddenly we were just chilling, having a drink with them. So it was really surreal. But then, of course, we got changed out of our fancy dresses. We left. And it was literally just once we got outside that we said, what just happened?
Yeah.
And we kind of looked at each other. And I think it was at that point we're like, oh my goodness. And then, of course, but it was so much so that I hadn't even phoned home to say,
Mhm.
you need to watch this program, or you need to
Yeah.
film it, or whatever.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, it was such a whirlwind. So yeah. So weird to think about that now. Just crazy for a first gig.
So
Yeah.
sometimes just being thrust into it and not having time to prepare and not having time to think of it makes it so much easier, right? If you had
Totally.
had days, you'd be like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this. Instead, yeah, just instinct kicks in, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think if there was a lot more time, then because it gives a chance for your nerves to build up, doesn't
Yeah.
it? You start overthinking things, and then So yeah, I think it was probably quite good. Yeah, it was just. I remember the day being stressful because I was
Mhm.
meant to be going to teach in the afternoon, and I had to get someone to cover me so that we could get together and rehearse.
Yeah.
Um, but they seemed fine with it, so yeah, I still had my job at the end of it, so it was fine.
Well, that's
But
good.
yeah, um, yeah, but the evening just went in a flash. So yeah,
Nice. So you said after that it just took off. Where did it take you? You got into cruise ships, you said, and things like that. Where did it
yeah,
progress from there? And how did it get from that moment to where you are now, where you're doing the Les Mis, the Stars Les Mis charity thing?
yeah. Well, we actually we posted. I think Georgie posted our show reel onto Twitter, I want to say.
Mhm.
And our current cruise agent, literally, I think she tagged her in it, and literally she replied and said, would you want to do short cruises? We said, yes. And then we basically arranged to go and sing at her company's showcase. And after that, and the thing is, at the showcase, it went well, but the other people from various cruise lines were saying, they don't like female acts. Cruise ships don't like female acts, especially groups, especially young. There's this weird stigma. I don't know
Really?
why they think that. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of male acts, especially male groups, and
Yeah.
the comedians, I think they've all been male from what from the people we've met, they've all been male. Like,
Mhm.
legit, like, there are really not many female guest entertainers who only go on for a week or so at the time. I don't know if that's going to be changing from now on because of all the
Yeah.
new restrictions with travel and safety and
Yeah.
things. But that's what it was at the time. And so we thought, oh, we're probably not going to get anything from this then. But then next thing we knew, we were getting all these offers in. Like, oh, right. Well, okay, they're wrong then. So of course, we went but we were very much in mind, like, oh, well, this is special. We were always going to put in 100% anyway, but we really kind of were making the most of it because we thought, well, we're going to get these few, and that's going to be it. Because if they don't want female artists, then but then it just kept on growing and growing. There was a couple of years ago, we actually did 25 cruise contracts in the year.
Wow.
And so that's basically every second week on average. It was insane. And Georgie and I did all of them, bar one each. And then for the other tracks, the girls couldn't with their commitments. So we had to get people to come and fill in.
Yeah.
So it just got so busy so quickly. And of course, around that, we were wanting, to plan maybe recording music and, working with charities and trying to do more corporate events so that we're actually on land. Especially if we could stay in London and, not travel somewhere, that kind of thing. So, of course, trying to develop new contacts and, networking and planning and organization. So Ida's completely independent. We've got our cruise agent and that's it. We do everything else ourselves. So we don't have a manager. So Georgie, she'll kind of book the gigs and stuff for us. She's incredible. This is like kind of PR type, marketing type things. And then Sarah's got amazing contacts as well. Since Jasmine joined the group last year, she's hit the ground running. She's doing all the, admin, and she, she'll do the mailing list, that kind of thing. I do most of the vocal arrangements, and I'm kind of like the musical director. So I'll check over all the band music and the backing tracks that get made for us, those kind of things. So we're completely independent. So of course we're running a business while trying to be away all the time. It gets very stressful.
For sure.
But then we wanted to create a Christmas album, and this was in 2018. So it's when we were actually over in Australia in a beautiful place called Noosa, if you've heard of it.
No.
They've got this festival called Noosa Alive. And so we were invited over following meeting our dear friends, Daryl and Colleen, on a cruise ship. So they arranged with this, festival, like for us to come over and headline the festival. Wow. And it was while we were over there, we kind of decided, right, we want to do this Christmas album. We need to raise funds for it. So we, did a Kickstarter campaign, and it started there. And we had a couple of months to raise the money for it. We didn't. I mean, we raised what we wanted to raise, but it ended up not being enough, obviously. So of course, it's kind of coming out our own pocket. We're like, oh, where's this money going to come from?
Yeah.
But we created this Christmas album, considering that most albums for Christmas are made, way before Christmas. We're talking like summer. We were making it like end of autumn, start of winter, and it was such a. And then there was all these things because Laura, who is one of the original members, had visa issues and she had to go back to Australia, but then she was going to get married, and then it all had to get postponed. So she had to record her parts from Australia. So it was, and then there were all these mix up with who was doing the work on the album. It was just one of the most stressful things we've ever done. But it's, you learn from all these things, don't you? And at the end of the day, it's made us better business people. We know things that we might expect now, things that might crop up, and the album did so well, considering that we're an independent act, and it got into the official classical charts, and it was the only independent independent album that got in, and it wasn't high. I think it was number 41, I think. So it wasn't high at all, but we
Yeah.
were just over the moon because we'd done it all ourselves with the help,
Sure.
obviously, the financial help of so many of our supporters, which was just amazing. So we were obviously really proud of ourselves, and from then we thought, right, well, we can keep doing things like this then. I did say we're not doing an album for a while because it just, Georgie and I we were dead by Christmas. Our parents were very worried about us, and then obviously the stress of Laura being away, and but we were actually planning on trying to do an album this year, and so it's still in the works kind of thing, but it's obviously been very much postponed. But we're really happy that before lockdown happened, we were able to get into the studio and record, amongst other things, our Les Mis medley, which I arranged last year, and then release it for Help Musicians, because I mean it's just been such an incredible charity, especially in this time. They've helped so many musicians here, just by giving out, one-off grants, but it was enough to cover rent for a lot of people. I'm in a lucky position that I'm staying at home with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are not in that position. So we just thought we have to do this. So.
Congratulations on being your own business and all, you guys putting it together and running it. It's such a difficult thing, but as an artist, that's all you can really do. You have to rely on yourself. You can't rely on anybody else.
Oh, well, I say this all the time, but that's just because I've been let down. So you can't rely on anyone. So it's more the negative way. You say it in a positive way, and I'm just thinking, oh, no one can be trusted. I might as well do it myself. I'm thinking this all the time.
Well, obviously you've succeeded, and so you've turned that negative into a positive. So so that's fantastic. Yeah. So how has 2020? I know it's been insane for everybody with the theaters, and you can't do concerts and all that sort of thing. How has Ida survived and thrived and taken advantage of the online aspect, or has it been more difficult than you realize? How's it 2020 been for you guys?
Well, I mean, we had a lot of plans. We obviously were meant to be doing some cruises. We really reduced how many we were doing to focus on other things. So we were meant to be performing at various huge theatres in the country, and festivals, and proms nights, like BBC proms, a bit like that, but not the official one, unfortunately. Not at the Royal Albert Hall yet.
One day.
So we were meant to be performing at Buckingham Palace in July. So we performed at Windsor Castle. I know, Windsor Castle in October last year, and I think it was through the same contact anyway. I want to say Sarah's contacts, that we were meant to be performing at Buckingham Palace. I hope I've got that right. In July, and of course that wasn't able to happen. So it did, to begin with. We were very much in the mindset. I remember specifically discussing this with Georgie, actually, that we were just going to make the most of the break. But of course, this is at the start of lockdown, where we just didn't know how long it was going to be and things like that. So we really were just kind of resting and using the time to make the most of the other aspects of our lives. So that was fine, but then we did really start to realize we need to be doing some things. Let's keep Ida going, even if we're not together. So I wanted to do a version. Did you see? I don't know if I should mention it. Did you see the video of Imagine that Gal? Is it Gadot? Is that how I say her last name? Gal Gadot. Wonder Woman.
No, I never saw that.
It didn't have the best reception, let's say, online, but it was a lovely thought, and it was very touching. So basically, she and lots of her celebrity friends did this video of John Lennon's Imagine, and it was so one person would sing one line, then the next person would sing another, then the next person. So I thought, that's all I'm going to say on it. I wanted to I wanted to do a version of Imagine just because I thought it was a really nice song for the time. So yeah, I did just a very quick arrangement. I didn't even write it down. I just note bashed and sent it to the girls, and said, "Are you all able to record this?" And this was before we had our microphones and things like that. And that was the first video that we did, and I called it like Ida in Isolation, Imagine. And then we did another one because I don't know if you have a similar thing in Canada, but here we were really celebrating the NHS, and every Thursday night we were, going out into the street and clapping for them at 8 o'clock, the whole country, just because the NHS were just doing such an incredible job with, caring and saving people's lives. Just absolutely amazing. And the kind of symbol for that is actually called the Rainbow Project. So it's a rainbow. And so we thought it'd be lovely to do Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So Sarah really wanted to do that. So she did an arrangement of that. And then we did that as the next video. And then we started to get, more microphone recording equipment and things like that. So, by that point, more people were starting to do online concerts and stuff like that, and were asking us if we'd like to be part of it. So, it was very much, to begin with, I was very much just making it up as I went along because I didn't have any experience with recording and mixing. I'd downloaded some video editing software, and I was the one, editing all our videos together. But again, I was learning on the job, watching YouTube tutorials on, on all the things that I couldn't figure out. So yeah, more and more we were creating these videos, just the individual videos of all of us, and I was putting it all together, syncing it up, putting it together as if we were one, as a group, and just went from there really. So we've been doing a lot more of them, and then we had a concert. Oh goodness me, almost a couple of weeks ago. What day is it? I don't know what day it is, but it was on the 31st. Oh, it was on Halloween. It was on the 31st of October. And there's this group on Facebook called the Songbirds live streaming concert group. And it's a private group. I know it's a big name, mouthful. But it's a private group on Facebook, but anyone can join. And it's just basically to promote female singers in, during this time when there's no work. And it's all, I suppose, organized, curated, by this wonderful man called Robert Scullin. It was his idea, and it was to give people a chance to be performing, and gives the audience a chance to donate, like tip money to them, so they're kind of earning at the same time. So it's a really nice concept. So we all did kind of solo sections as part of a big concert day in August, and then Bob asked us if we'd like to do an Ida concert. So we filmed loads of songs, including solos and duets. Everyone sent all their videos and audio recordings to me. I put it all together. Almost died in the process. Oh goodness. And then we had this concert on the 31st, and it was just wonderful. It just went down so well, and the support we've had has just been unbelievable. People are so kind and just so willing to help and just promote you and donate, generously. And even if they can't donate, they'll spread the word. And it's been so lovely. I think it's times like these that it can either go one of two ways. Either people go against each other or people come together. And that was a real moment of people coming together. And I get kind of emotional thinking about it. I remember we were all, the girls, we were all messaging each other on a group WhatsApp chat. And at the end of the concert, and we were like, we're so emotional, just because it'd been, I guess, just months and months of just, not knowing what's going to happen, and when are we going to be together again, and then this concert, and it was so well received. It was such a wonderful evening. So yeah, we're hoping obviously that we can be together soon and performing live in
Mhm.
person to an
Yeah.
actual audience. The girls actually did have a concert before the second lockdown in England, anyway, and but I couldn't go because I've been having to shield, if you're using that term. But I've
Mhm.
been having to shield because my dad has been going undergoing treatment for things. So I
Mhm.
because I'm living with him,
Yep.
I couldn't do it. So we had
Yeah.
one of our lovely cruise deps come in and stand in for me on that concert, and it looked like it was a beautiful evening as well at Tonbridge Castle, which is in
Oh,
Kent, I think.
nice.
So yeah, so I think we're hoping to be together again soon, but it was like the Vera Lynn, isn't it? We'll meet again, but yeah, we'll. Oh yeah, it gives me all the emotions.
This I know this year has been so devastating, not just to people in general, but obviously to our industry. But
Yeah,
it's when it's people like yourself who've you know taken what it is, accepted it, and but developed other skills. You learned how to yet. Would you have learned how to do the video editing and all the audio stuff and any of that stuff, or create the online concerts and bring together pieces of the world if this had happened? Probably not, right?
absolutely. And this is a conversation that I've had actually multiple times now. You know, I think I have absolutely. I do not judge anyone, if they've not, you know, learnt the new skills or
Mhm.
taken it upon themselves to be productive or creative, because
Yeah.
this pandemic is affecting everyone in such different ways, and it's literally affecting everyone. So
Yeah.
I would never think, oh well, they've not done anything, I'm better than them. Never ever.
Yeah.
But I am proud of myself for kind of learning these things and kind of making the most of it in what is a very difficult situation. And I kind of speaking to my friend about it quite a lot, actually. And he was saying, we just want to learn new skills and make the most of this time, because next year it could be that we're busy again. And
Mhm.
he's a videographer, so he was going to have weddings and things. And then next year, obviously, it's all the postponed weddings from then. So he's trying
Yeah.
to hone in on this time to try and like do the other kinds of filmmaking that he wants to do. And it's a similar thing with us, definitely. So I think we've all individually taken it upon ourselves to learn these extra skills, or even if it's not learning, like hone in. I don't know what the term
Phone
is.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, hone them. So just yeah, it's been very useful, but equally there are sometimes weeks where I'll just be on the sofa and I'm not motivated to do anything. And I
Yeah.
just think that's absolutely fine too. No pressure
Mhm.
on myself. We don't know how long this is going to be,
Yeah.
so we'll just do what you can and what you feel like you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. We have no idea when this is gonna end. Heck, I don't know, maybe depending when people are listening to this, it might already be done and we're all
Yeah,
in live concerts. So who knows?
yeah. I
But,
know.
but yeah, you've taken, this time, and these skill sets are gonna be applicable once we go back to life, right? I
Oh,
always think
completely.
we're taking one step back, but what we're learning, we're taking two steps forward, and we're gonna
Absolutely.
be so much better in the
Oh yeah,
future.
definitely. And the thing is, I think that the face of many industries will be very different
Mhm.
following all this, because now they've realized that so much more can be done online and
Yeah.
things like that. So I think things will just be changing in general. And it's like I was chatting with my friend about castings, and she'd said that she'd attended a couple of online masterclasses and workshops and things like that.
Mhm.
And she was saying that casting directors are planning on seeing a lot more people, but in an online sense.
Yeah.
For certain things anyway, not necessarily everything.
Mhm.
But it just means it opens up a lot more doors for people, which is brilliant. And it
Yeah.
also, you know, if someone, is in a different part of the country, but they can move down for a job, but not necessarily for an audition. It
Yes.
just means
Yeah.
that there can be less limitations on people, which I think is brilliant.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just see how everything goes. Just yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who know
I
I
don't
know.
think it's ever going to go back to exactly how it was. This is how can
No.
it? So
No.
yeah,
We evolve. We move forward, and we take what we can from the situation we have, and you make the best of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's next for Ida or yourself? Is there anything going on in the next little while?
Well, so we're still doing our online concerts and things like that. So with this Songbirds Facebook group, this I don't know when this will be going out, but on the on Saturday, the 14th of November, there's a Celtic Songbirds concert, which just basically means that it's people from Scotland and Ireland, so not necessarily Celtic music. And there are, I think, 10 or 11 of us, and we each have a half an hour set, and then there's a break in the middle. So it's basically like a day event, and people can tune in and kind of dip in and out when they want to. Some people just get the day off work and just watch the entire thing, which is amazing. And yeah, and I mean, it's free. So, if people want to do that, then absolutely. So, yeah, so Sarah, who is from Dublin in Ireland, and I, obviously Scottish, we're going to be doing that this weekend. And there's going to be another one on the 5th of December, and Georgie's doing that one. As of today, I'm going to be doing that one as well. And yeah, so it's great that that's kind of a consistent thing. There's also talk of potential solo concerts coming up in the new year. And I've got an idea for a concert before Christmas, but it's not finalized yet because I'm still just waiting on a few confirmations. So I've not announced it, but basically it would be my concert, but it's also showcasing local talent and performers just from my hometown. So it's not, it's not lots of professional people, so we're talking, kids and groups, amateur groups and things. But I just feel like, especially in the lead up to Christmas, there's so often these amazing performances, or even things like a carol service at the church. People can't go to that. Here anyway, the restrictions are you're not allowed to sing. There's a maximum of 50 people. You have to hum. You can't even sing the proper things. Because my dad is actually an organist, so that's where he works. Normally, he can't right now because he's shielding. He was shielding. So he's been sending in recordings of him playing the organ because he has one in the house. I mean, who doesn't?
Of course, everyone.
But it's amazing. I actually, last weekend he was practicing Elgar's Nimrod, from the Enigma variations on the organ, because he was going to send it for the Remembrance Sunday service. And it just moved me so much. And I said, were you recording that? And he said, well, yes. I said, well, were you happy with the recording? Like, I think so. It's like, well, would you mind if I posted it on my pages tomorrow for the Sunday? And he said, yeah, that would be okay. So I posted it last weekend, and it's had such a reaction. And I think it's just because it's just, not only is he a brilliant organist, he's a brilliant player, so obviously it's beautifully played, but it's just that piece of music is just so moving. And I think so many people personally find it, it's very poignant for people personally. So I had strangers who I don't know, comment, loads of people commenting saying, oh, this is my dad's favorite piece of music, or oh, this makes me think of my mum, or oh, it was lovely. Anyway, sorry, that was a complete tangent, but just it was so nice. I just felt so happy that a piece of music that my dad was playing got such an amazing reaction. So, but yeah, so things like that. There are no concerts, there are no services, there are no Christmas lights putting on things, or whatever they're called. What's it called?
Yeah.
On. But what I mean. Basically anything which can gather a crowd is not allowed to happen. So I just thought, I know there are a lot of these online concerts for professionals and people across the world, which is amazing. But in terms of my hometown, it's a small town, and people don't have much in the way of a platform for getting their things out there. So I've contacted a few of the local groups, so like the Strathspey Fiddlers, which is a traditional Scots group, for fiddle music, and the Silver Band, so that's a brass band. My niece and her friends are going to be doing things, a local violinist. So I've just asked them if they'd like to come along and do something. But it's still in the works. I'm hoping that it'll come off, but yeah, it'll probably be about the middle of December if I can make it happen. So that'll be something that'll probably take up quite a lot of my time if it does go ahead. But yeah, in the new year, obviously, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But obviously, we're just hoping to be getting more of our work, either our work back from the things that were cancelled. You know, a lot of them have been postponed, or new things coming in, but it's all very dependent on the government restrictions. So
For sure.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? You do what you can with the situation.
Yeah,
Given, right?
it is what it is.
Exactly. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for talking to me
Oh,
today. It was
my
fantastic to meet you
pleasure.
and learn about
I
you. And
know.
now,
Yeah.
before we go, I always ask 3 quick questions of all my guests. There's no right or wrong answer, but there's one wrong answer. So get ready for
No.
that.
Oh no.
It's not that bad. It's not as
I'll
bad
get
as
you.
you think.
I'll get it wrong. That's
No.
me. I'll get it.
Come on, you enjoyed getting tests in school, right? The quizzes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've caused the stress. Okay. So question number 1. Who is your favorite creator or team when it comes to either music, lyrics, or book? No, it doesn't have to be the best, or you just somebody who touches you or
So
gives you passion, or for
I
music,
think
lyrics, or book.
goodness. I think Bernstein and Sondheim on West Side Story. That was just that was unbelievable. So I can't not say them.
Nice. Correct answer. See, this is easy. You've already got one of the 3.
One time. Okay.
Okay. Question number 2. Now, I just sing songs from all genres of music, right? And you perform songs written for both male and female. Now, in London, they just had the version of Company where they had a gender swap. If you could play any male part from a show, what would you choose?
Oh, I love this question. I always thought, if I have a cabaret, I'd want to do it of all the, the roles that I'll never play. There's a thing called the roles I'll never play, I think, in London. But oh goodness, one role,
or even a show, or something, or a song that you love.
I mean, who doesn't want to play Alexander Hamilton? But but I think, to be honest, I think just something so unlike me, like Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, like just to get to sing "Luck Be a Lady."
Yeah,
that's probably that. Yeah.
Correct answer.
Yay!
Answer number 2, correct. Number 3, the most important one.
Oh no.
Audience members eating food in the theater while you're singing. Yes or no?
In the theater specifically?
Yeah.
I'd rather not have them eating in the theater when I'm singing. Why not just keep it till the interval? But if you're at home.
Okay. I know the whole world has gone crazy because now online concerts, everybody's eating some drinks in front of each other.
I know.
Right? So different.
Yeah, I think people doing anything that they don't have to be doing while they're at the theater, it just, I don't know. It's distracting for the performer, but also distracting for other members of the audience. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't personally hope for that in my audience.
Correct answer.
Oh, my goodness.
3 for 3. See,
is this something that you feel really strongly about?
Oh yeah, totally. It drives me insane. And it's always people talk about the interruptions during the show. I talk about the garbage people leave on the floor.
Of course,
the just everywhere. They just leave cups and wrappers. I'm like,
it's this. But I see that gets me for anything though. Like if people are just at the park or at the beach, when people leave rubbish behind, I think it's so inconsiderate. I just think it's one of the worst things that people can do.
Totally agree.
So no, I'm with you there.
All right, for that reaction, you get an extra point. So congratulations, 4 out of 3.
I'll take that. Oh, it's been a good day.
Nice. Wendy, thank you again so much for coming on and spending a bit of time with me.
I've had a great time.
Awesome. All right. So we were speaking with Wendy Carr here on Musical Theater Radio's Be Our Guest. Tune in next week when we speak with another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanov, and I'll see you when I see you. We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community.